If you found your way to this message, it's not random, not accidental, not coincidence. People with extremely high spiritual IQ don't stumble onto things. They are drawn to them, pulled by something beneath the surface, beneath consciousness, beneath the noise of the everyday mind. Jung would call it a movement of the self, the deeper organizing force within you, guiding you toward what your ego doesn't yet understand, but your soul already recognizes. And if you're still here, listening, absorbing, feeling these words as they echo inside you, then maybe you've sensed it for a long time, that something in you operates differently, that something in you perceives the world in layers, not lines, that something in you has always felt older than your age, deeper than your experiences, and wiser than your education. Maybe people told you that you overthink. Maybe they said you're too sensitive, too intense, too emotional, too perceptive. But deep down, you always knew that what feels like a burden is actually a form of intelligence, an ancient intelligence, a symbolic intelligence, a spiritual intelligence. Jung believed that the psyche speaks long before the ego learns to listen. And something in your psyche has been whispering to you for years. That whisper is why you're here. That whisper is why these words resonate. Because part of you has been searching for answers your entire life. Answers that explain how you see, how you feel, how you know. This message is not for everyone. No, this is for the rare ones, the inner seekers, the intuitively attuned, those who carry an internal compass that doesn't follow society's direction, but the whisperings of the unconscious, the true unconscious, not the Freudian basement of impulses, but the vast, symbolic, mythic landscape Jung devoted his life to understanding. It's for the ones who feel life instead of just living it. It's for the ones who've always sensed the invisible layers beneath the obvious. It's for those who walk through the world with a depth that others can't understand and often don't appreciate. These signs aren't just traits, they are keys, revealing what you've always carried inside you. Let's begin. Sign 1. You read the world like a symbolic text. Most people see the world as a sequence of events. You see the world as a sequence of symbols. You don't look at a moment and ask, what happened? You look at a moment and ask, what does this mean? You've always felt that life communicates with you, not through words, but through signs, patterns, synchronicities, symbols. A stranger's passing comment hits you like a message. A dream feels like instruction rather than fantasy. A recurring image follows you until you finally understand what it's trying to tell you. Jung said, "The soul speaks in images, and your soul has been speaking for a long time." You see symbolism everywhere. Patterns in your relationships, repeated cycles in your life, numbers that appear when you need clarity, dreams that return when you're ignoring something essential, intuitive sensations that come out of nowhere but feel more true than anything else. To others, it looks random. To you, it feels intentional. That's not delusion. That's perception. That's what happens when the unconscious begins to rise into consciousness, when your inner world and outer world start to mirror each other. People with extremely high spiritual IQ instinctively interpret life. They're natural pattern readers. They feel when something is ending before it ends. They sense when something is beginning before it begins. They know when life is shifting, even when nothing external has changed yet. You don't just see the world, you read it. You read the metaphors, the moods, the emotional temperature of the moment. You read the pause between someone's words, the heaviness behind someone's eyes, the silence that reveals more than their voice. You've always seen more than what's visible, and that is the first sign. Sign 2, you feel the shadow long before you see it. People with high spiritual IQ carry an unusual sensitivity, but it's not fragility. It's awareness, deep awareness, shadow awareness. You feel the emotional undercurrents that other people are numb to. You sense tension before it erupts. You detect dishonesty before it's spoken. You know when someone is hurting even when they smile like everything's fine. And the most powerful part is this: you don't just feel the shadow in others, you feel it in yourself. Before anger rises, you feel its pressure building. Before anxiety surfaces, you sense the old wound it's tied to. Before sadness hits, you sense the deeper truth beneath it. You notice patterns in your emotional reactions. The same trigger, the same memory, the same wound repeating in different forms. Most people collapse into their emotions. You study them. Most people deny their shadow. You feel it approaching. This isn't because you're broken, it's because you are perceptive. Jung said the shadow is everything we refuse to face, and yet confronting it is the key to inner power. Your ability to feel the shadow before it overtakes you is a sign of advanced inner intelligence. People with low spiritual IQ run from discomfort. People with high spiritual IQ investigate it, not because they enjoy the pain, but because they instinctively understand. Discomfort reveals truth. Pain reveals patterns. Emotional intensity reveals what has been suppressed. Conflict reveals the parts of the psyche that want to be healed. You've always sensed that turning away from the shadow doesn't make it disappear. It only makes it stronger. But turning toward it, gently, courageously, honestly, transforms you. And that is why you've grown faster than most people around you. You don't hide from your darkness. You learn from it. That is the second sign. Sign 3. You experience synchronicity as a guiding force. For ordinary minds, synchronicities are coincidences. For spiritually awake minds, synchronicities are communication. You've experienced them your whole life. Thinking of someone right before they contact you, seeing the same symbol repeatedly during a confusing time, meeting people you were meant to meet, receiving the exact message you needed in the exact moment you needed it. These moments don't feel random, they feel aligned. Most people ignore signs. You pay attention. Most people seek logic. You seek meaning. Most people dismiss synchronicity. You recognize it as guidance. Jung described synchronicity as the bridge between the psyche and reality. The moment when something inside you is reflected outside you. And when your spiritual IQ is high, these moments happen often. Very often. Sometimes too often to deny. You've had experiences where life felt orchestrated, arranged, timed with impossible precision, where the right choice became obvious not because of logic, but because everything pointed toward it, where you felt led, not by coincidence, but by connection. And the more you trust these moments, the more they appear. Synchronicity is not fantasy. It is the language of a psyche that has begun to awaken. People with extremely high spiritual IQ don't ask, "Is this real?" They ask, "What is this trying to show me?" Because deep down they know the truth. Synchronicity is alignment. Synchronicity is communication. Synchronicity is confirmation. When the inner world shifts, the outer world responds. That is the third sign. Sign 4. You carry an instinctive understanding of archetypes. People with extremely high spiritual IQ don't learn archetypes from books, they recognize them. You've always sensed that certain people carry certain energies. Certain relationships feel faded. Certain personalities feel ancient, like echoes of stories older than memory. You've met people who felt like mentors before they ever taught you anything. You've met people who felt like warnings before they ever said a word. You've met people who triggered wounds you didn't know you had, because they activated an archetypal pattern deep inside you. Most people walk through life without recognizing the roles they play. You see them. You've sensed the mother, the father, the shadow, the trickster, the healer, the child, the wise old man, not as fictional symbols, but as living energies shaping human behavior. Jung believed archetypes are the blueprint of the psyche, and you instinctively read these blueprints. When someone presents themselves as confident but feels hollow, you sense the persona. When someone hides gentleness beneath anger, you feel the wounded child. When someone carries quiet depth, you feel the sage. When someone manipulates through chaos, you see the trickster plain as day. This is not judgment, it's recognition. And what's more powerful, you recognize these archetypes inside yourself too. You know when you are slipping into the caregiver role at the expense of your own needs. You notice when your warrior rises in moments requiring courage. You see when your shadow tries to sabotage your growth. You feel when your inner self is calling you toward transformation. Most people never see their own archetypes. You live in conscious relationship with them. That is the fourth sign. Sign 5. You can hear the silence beneath the noise. People with high spiritual IQ have an unusual relationship with silence, not the absence of sound, the presence of meaning. You've always felt that silence is where truth lives, where the unconscious speaks, where your intuition sharpens like a blade. While most people fear silence because it forces them to face themselves, you feel at home in it. You know that silence is not empty, silence is full, silence is information. You've experienced moments where the silence in a room told you more than anyone's words, where someone's pause communicated their real feelings, where the air shifted and you instantly knew what was happening beneath the surface. Your intuition doesn't scream, it whispers, and you've learned to listen. Jung believed that the psyche reveals its truth when the noise of the ego quiets. You have an instinct for that quieting. Even in chaos, you find the still point beneath it. Even in conflict, you feel the hidden truth no one is saying. Even in uncertainty, you hear the quiet internal yes or no that others overlook. To others, you seem calm. To yourself, you're listening. This is the fifth sign, sign 6. You feel other people's inner worlds as if they're your own. People with high spiritual IQ are not just intuitive, they're intuitively empathic. You don't try to understand people, you feel them. You sense their fears even when they act confident. You sense their longing even when they appear cold. You sense their wounds even when they pretend they're fine. This is not emotional absorption, it's psychological perception. You've always been able to enter someone's emotional landscape without invading it. You've felt someone's disappointment the moment it formed. You've sensed someone pulling away long before they say a word. You've noticed the micro shifts in tone, energy, expression that reveal what they're afraid to admit. Most people only hear what is said. You hear what is unsaid. And this ability has shaped your life. You've acted as the emotional anchor in relationships. You've soothed wounds people never told you about. You've sensed betrayal long before it occurred. You've offered compassion before someone knew they needed it. You've walked away when the energy felt wrong, even if the logic seemed right. Jung taught that the unconscious communicates through emotional resonance. Your sensitivity is not random. It is a finely tuned instrument. You are not merely empathic. You are spiritually empathic, connected to the symbolic, emotional, psychic depth of others. That is the sixth sign, sign 7. You are guided by inner knowing rather than outer approval. People with extremely high spiritual IQ do not navigate life through external validation. You never fully fit into systems built on shallow measures of success. You've always felt misaligned with expectations that felt meaningless. You've resisted paths others tried to force you into because they didn't resonate with your inner truth. You live by resonance, not reputation, by truth, not trend, by alignment, not approval. Most people ask, "What should I do?" You ask, "What feels true?" Most people ask, "Will people understand?" You ask, "Does this fit my inner compass?" Your decisions are guided not by logic alone, but by a deeper internal authority, an instinctive knowing that rises from within, often without explanation. And here's what sets you apart. Your inner knowing is almost always right. You've chosen relationships because they felt meaningful, not because they looked perfect. You've walked away from situations others begged you to stay in because something felt off. You've changed direction at the exact moment your psyche demanded evolution. You've followed paths that made no sense until they suddenly made all the sense in the world. This is not impulsiveness, it is alignment with the self, the deeper, wiser center of the psyche Jung described. People with low spiritual IQ follow the map. People with high spiritual IQ follow the compass. That is the seventh sign, sign 8. You are naturally drawn to inner transformation. People with extremely high spiritual IQ are not afraid of change. They are called to it. Transformation has never been a choice for you. It arrives like a season. It enters your life the way a storm enters the sky, suddenly but inevitably clearing what no longer belongs so something new can grow in its place. Most people cling to old versions of themselves. You shed them. You've outgrown identities you once thought were permanent. You've walked away from friendships the moment they stopped aligning with your spirit. You've closed doors you once prayed would open, and you've opened doors you never expected to walk through. Not because you are impulsive, but because your inner world evolves too quickly for stagnation. Jung taught that individuation, the process of becoming who you truly are, demands continuous death and rebirth, and without even realizing it, you've been living this process your whole life. You've reinvented yourself without losing yourself. You've changed direction without losing clarity. You've embraced endings not as failures, but as initiations. People with low spiritual IQ resist transformation. People with high spiritual IQ become transformation. That is the 8th sign. Sign 9. You carry a strong sense of purpose, even when you can't name it. There has always been a feeling inside you, a quiet, persistent, unexplainable knowing that you are here for something meaningful, something specific, something undeniably yours. Even when you didn't know what your purpose was, you felt its gravity. Even when your life didn't make sense, you felt the pull of direction. Even when you questioned everything, something inside you refused to collapse. While others feel lost because they lack purpose, you feel unsettled until you align with it. You've always sensed that your life is not random, that your struggles were not meaningless, that your pain shaped you for something, that your intuition was preparing you, that your inner world was training you for a role your conscious mind couldn't yet articulate. Jung believed that each psyche contains a teleological force, an inner purpose pulling you toward your fullest expression, and people with high spiritual IQ feel this pull constantly. Maybe you've never been able to explain why you can't tolerate superficial paths. Maybe you've never been able to silence the voice that says, "There is more. Keep going." Maybe you've always felt that the life you're living is only the beginning. Purpose for you is not a career, not a task, not an accomplishment. Purpose for you is recognition, an inner click, a moment of alignment where everything you've felt your whole life finally makes sense. This is the 9th sign. Sign 10. You have an uncanny ability to see beyond the ego in yourself and others. People with extremely high spiritual IQ can see what the ego tries to hide. You feel when someone's confidence is a mask for fear. You feel when someone's anger is a disguise for hurt. You feel when someone's indifference is a shield for longing. You've always seen beneath the surface, beneath the persona, beneath the curated identity people show the world. And perhaps the most powerful part, you see it in yourself too. You know when your ego is trying to protect you. You recognize when your defenses activate. You catch yourself projecting old wounds onto new situations. You see when your inner child is seeking safety. You feel when your shadow is trying to take the wheel. Most people cling to their ego structures like armor. You treat your ego like a teacher, a messenger revealing where healing is needed. Jung believed that true awakening requires a conscious relationship with the ego, not its destruction, and people with high spiritual IQ intuitively live this balance. You don't deny your flaws. You don't pretend your pain doesn't exist. You don't hide your complexity behind polished stories. You move through life with a rare combination: clarity without arrogance, self-awareness without self-judgment, humility without self-erasure. And that is the 10th sign. If these signs resonated with you, even one, even two, even a faint echo, then maybe the truth is simpler than you've ever allowed yourself to believe. You are not too sensitive. You are not overthinking. You are not different in a bad way. You are not misaligned with the world. You are aligned with yourself. You are aligned with your depth. You are aligned with your intuition. You are aligned with the symbolic language of your own psyche. And the world has never taught you how to understand that, but it's teaching you now. You were never meant to live on the surface of things. You were never meant to silence your intuition. You were never meant to shrink your perception to fit a world that fears depth. You were meant to feel. You were meant to see. You were meant to awaken. Most people move through life half asleep. You've been waking up for years, long before you even realized it. So if these signs spoke to you, It's because they've always been yours. They've always been inside you. They've always been part of your story, waiting to be named. Now they are named. Now you know. And if you feel called to do so, tell me in the comments which sign spoke to you the loudest, which truth reflected the part of you you've been carrying in silence, which realization made everything finally make sense, because this isn't the end of your awakening. This is the beginning.